Hi Aries and Aries Rising, here is your horoscope for October 2025. I'm Astrologer Joseph Anthony. Okay, eclipse season is over and now we're winding down the year of 2025. And October brings a lot of deep contemplation. This is because Mars, your ruler, is now in Scorpio going through the 8th house of sort of the hidden realm, the deep psychological side of life. And it'll be joined by Mercury and the Sun, all joined up in this 8th house by the end of the month. And so there's going to be a deep dive into your subconscious, into what makes you tick. You'll be thinking a lot about finances and investments, the meaning of life, what's the purpose, where am I going, is there anything after this lifetime? These are the things that you'll be diving into. Now, if you're an Aries sun sign or a rising sign right there, this is a very general overview of what the stars and the planets are suggesting. And so it has to be very general because everyone's birth chart who's born under that sign has a different placement of planetary alignments, different birthdays. But this still gives you an idea of what's going on. And I use Western tropical astrology using the whole house systems. As you can see here, they're all zeroed out. So it's a whole house system. So your own personal birth chart is much more accurate. And I do sell those on my websites, planetswithin.com and josephpanthony.com. You could always order your own birth chart, and it comes with a mini report. So there's a lot of information. There's a sample of that on my websites, so you could check it out. But anyway, in the meantime here, we see that when we have planets moving into new houses, they highlight some new areas of interest. Now, what makes this month very special for Aries and Aries Rising, we also have a full moon in your sign, in Aries, in the first house of identity and self. So the eclipses last month had you really focusing on your daily routine, anything to do with work, health, service to others, and your mental well-being, because the lunar eclipse was here. So these two access points will be in effect for the next 6 months. But this month, we have a lot of activity having to do with partnerships and relationships, because the Sun and Mercury are going through Libra, which is the opposite sign of Aries. So the 7th house makes you more social. You want to interact more. You're thinking about your partnerships a lot more. And so this falls under this umbrella. But remember, there's an intensity here because Mars is in a very passionate sign of Scorpio. And it's digging deep, and the thoughts of investments and monetary gain, and what can I do more of? That's going to be the mindset here with Mars going through here. So this month is pretty intense because of Mars going through the sign of Scorpio in the 8th house. Okay. But we start off the month with Mercury also around the 6th and 7th going into Scorpio. So now we add another level of intensity and investigation and wanting to figure things out and what's the meaning of life and the purpose. Mercury is the communicating planet. And when it dives into Scorpio, we become like an investigator. How does everything work? What's going on? What's going on with the financial system? Can I make more money? How can I make more money? This is the theme here. And it's very general speaking, because this Mercury could be somewhere else in your chart and it'll activate different energy. But generally speaking, as a sun sign Aries or rising sign Aries, this is where it's landing. So for the next 3 weeks, this is going to be very prominent for many of you. Now, the good news is that you will chase investments or financial matters, and you might bring some in. Okay, the 8th house and the 2nd house are the houses that pertain to financial matters. So this will give you more of a drive and a determination also to make more money. So that is very, very good and very possible. Now, here's that full moon right around the same time on the 6th into the 7th. And there it is right there. Now, that's going to be at 14 degrees of Aries. So wherever that is in your birth chart, that's the area you need to look at. But generally speaking, the first house has to do with the self-awareness, self-realization, how others see you, how your appearance, how you look. These are all things that you're going to be taking into consideration this month. It'll be opposing the Sun, of course. This is about Libra energy, which is about relationships and your connection to these relationships. Is there a relationship that needs to end? Has it run its course? Maybe you're in a business deal and it's ended, the contract's up, that kind of stuff. Or you're thinking about people from the past, because the full moons will bring up people from the past as well. So maybe you're contemplating, something from the past that needs to resurface. So there is that possibility as well. So this is going to be the theme. It's definitely going to bring up things in your subconscious big time, because Mars is the ruler of this Aries full moon, and it's in the 8th house, deep psychological transformation. So this is going to be very profound for many of you. Next, we have Venus entering our home sign of Libra. So this happens late on the 13th into the 14th. There she is. Venus is the sign of relationships and money and partnerships, open enemies, legal matters. And one of the signs that she rules is Libra. The other one is Taurus. So when the sign enters, when a planet enters its own sign, it is more powerful. So here we see it in the 7th house. So this could be a great time for meeting new people, whether it's business or personal, feeling more social, wanting to interact, wanting to engage in conversation. This could be a great time for the next 4 weeks or so as Venus makes its way through the 7th house. This could be wonderful for connecting with others on every level. Okay? Just be mindful, of course, that it could be a confusing time as well, because Libra, the downside to Venus in Libra is indecisiveness. So you might find yourself hesitating and not sure at times because of that Venus going through Libra in the 7th house. Okay? But one thing is sure is relationships and all kinds of connections with others are going to be a primary theme here. Now, we see that Pluto will also go direct around the same time, the 13th and 14th. So here it is in stationary position. Now, Pluto is usually retrograde about 5 to 6 months out of the year, depending on the sign it's in. And when it does that, it goes deep into sleep mode, into the subconscious, because Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So they act kind of the same. And so here it is. Now it's starting to wake up in this 11th house of the future. This is the 11th house of organizations, charities, community, technology. So this 11th house is going to ignite a fire under you, I would say, after maybe this month, the second half of this month, into November and December, as Pluto makes its way through this, starts to wake up and starts moving forward again. So you're going to be focused on, how do I connect with the community? How can I be a part of more organizations? How can I meet new people or acquaintances? And I'm sure that'll all happen when Mars and Mercury are out of the Scorpio energy and into the 9th house, which is going to be Sagittarius, which has a lot more friendly vibes than Scorpio does. Scorpio is like withdrawn and, doesn't want people to get close to it. But when Mars, your ruler, and Mercury next month in November will be in the 9th house, it's much more favorable. And this Pluto will really wake up, and you feel like socializing and interacting more with anyone that wants to listen. And so you'll find yourself in a very social setting next month. But it starts this month, because Venus is still, a good position for interacting with others. So you're beginning to set the stage for something that's coming in a bigger way in November. So keep an eye on that. We also have the new moon in Libra on the 20th and 21st. And this is going to be right here, and it's going to be at 28 degrees of Libra. So wherever that is in your birth chart, you want to pay attention. So the 7th house is again opening up a doorway for 2 weeks for connecting with others, a special someone, a business partner. If you're having legal matters, Libra is associated with legal issues. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just putting it out there. But it's also about beauty. It's also about fairness. And maybe you're meeting someone that really balances you out, whether it's business or pleasure. So this could be a good time in the next 2 weeks to, again, socialize. If you get invited out, you might want to consider going. You never know who you're going to meet. So this is really good energy for all of that, especially since Venus is also in the 7th house. So meeting new people is really big at this new moon. Now, Neptune goes retrograde into Pisces for the last time. At least for another something like 160 years. So it'll be in our lifetime. Here is Neptune retrograding back into the 12th house of limitations, of spirituality, of mysticism, of the occult, of things that are hidden. Now, Saturn is also there as well. So this will be the last time Neptune will be at this last degree of Pisces over here. It'll come back through there. It'll stay at 28, 29 degrees, which is really big in astrology because this is the last degree. And anytime there are planets at the last degree, it really shakes things up. So here we have this revisiting the past in your mind, in your spirit, things you've been through, situations you've been through, people will reconnect with, understanding spirituality, mysticism on a very deep, profound level. And this will continue. I believe it retrogrades out again at the beginning of the year. But it'll leave there and come back into Aries along with Saturn. So next year is a really big year. But this retrograde, these two retrogrades here, are basically saying, let go of stuff that's not working for you anymore. Let it go. Move on. Go into a new area. Try and reinvent yourself. And that's what it's doing. So Neptune's going to be really profound here in this last degree of Pisces for a while, opening up doorways to the spirit realm. So understand that. This is very important. Now, the sun enters Scorpio this time of the year on the 22nd into the 23rd, and there is all of the lineup and energy in that 8th house. So you're either going to be extremely driven or very curious or really wanting to break out of something psychologically. So this is going to be very profound here with the sun, Mars, and Mercury there. And of course, this is just the transiting moon, but it's still very significant. So you're going to reach some very deep, profound psychic levels here, I would say, between Neptune and Saturn retrograde in Pisces and all this Scorpio energy. And of course, we still have Jupiter in Cancer. Talk about the spidey senses going off the charts. Pay attention because you are connecting with something much deeper, friends. So pay attention to that spidey sense. And last but not least, we have some optimism returning when Mercury enters Sagittarius on the 29th. Now, this is much more about the future, visionary ability, and connecting with the purpose. So now you're starting to come out of that deep, dark abyss. And as I said, in November, it looks really good. But it starts, this month where you need to clear out the cobwebs before you move forward next month. All right? Anyway, there's the general overview. If you want to know more, I do an extended version of this in my Inner Circle community, as you can see here. I do the weekly astrology too, where I'm making predictions there that have been very accurate lately about trends and things that I see coming. So consider joining. We also do Zoom calls every Sunday, and people get to ask me questions. Some people send me their charts. I answer a few questions for them, and we have a great time interacting on the Sunday Zoom calls. Anyway, I left the link down below. Check it out. There's a free 7-day trial, so there's no obligation. And I hope to see you in the community. Have a great month, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.